Okay, yeah, sure. Thank you very much. So, very good morning, everyone. I'm Bhavani Arumugam from the Department of Biomedical Science, Faculty of Medicine, University of Malaya. First and foremost, I would like to thank the organizer for giving me this opportunity to speak about the work that I have pursued earlier, which is entitled as Ameliorative Effects of Pilocytin Derivatives from Syzygium malacense against hyperglycemia-induced oxidative stress in ARPE19 cells. So let's move on. Diabetes mellitus is defined as the rise in blood sugar or the glucose level due to defects in insulin action or the production of insulin or both. So the disease is actually on the rise, in which 422 million adults have been diagnosed with diabetes till date. And this number has been predicted to increase up to 592 million by the year of 2035. So there are about 3.9 million adults have been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes mellitus in Malaysia with a prevalence of 18.3%. So the pathology here is when there's an increase in high blood glucose level, it causes the increase in free radical formation, or in the other word, the reactive oxygen species, ROS. So when the ROS is overwhelmed in the system, which it compromises the action of antioxidant system in the body, so it progresses to develop the oxidative stress condition. So this causes the alteration in various signaling pathways. So as in diabetes, it actually causes the dysfunction of pancreatic beta cells, which impairs the production of insulin. Besides, it also affects the certain tissues in our body, which are such as adipocytes, muscles, and liver, in which these tissues become insensitive to insulin, or a condition known as insulin resistance. So this develops to diabetes mellitus, and with prolonged condition, this develops further into various diabetic complications such as macro and microvascular complications. So under one of the microvascular complications is diabetic retinopathy. So I'll focus this in this talk. It is one of the most prevalent complications of diabetes mellitus. It's the sixth most common form of preventable blindness, and sixth most common cause of moderate to severe visual impairment. So when there's a prolonged exposure of excessive glucose in retinal vasculature, it results in, or it causes an abnormal glycolytic pathway, in which it causes activation of polyol pathway, exosamin pathway, accumulation of advanced glycation end products, and increased expression of protein kinase C activators. This further causes an increase in the mitochondrial production and accumulation of reactive oxygen species. So the repetitive cycle of these processes causes oxidative stress, which damages the retinal vasculature. So the available clinical treatments for diabetic retinopathy includes various surgical approaches, such as pan-retinal photocoagulation, focal or grid photocoagulation, and many more. Besides, there are pharmaceutical approaches such as anti-VEGF drugs and synthetic corticosteroids. So this approaches actually comes with various side effects, which basically causes discomfort to patient and affects patient's quality of life. So there comes the alternate approach in overcoming the diabetic retinopathy, which are natural products or antioxidants. So there have been many studies have been pursued on investigating the effectiveness of natural products in attenuating the progression of diabetic retinopathy. So for example, as stated here, such as carotenoids, curcumin, and many more. So in this line, flavonoids, which are one of the plant bioactive compounds, which are the secondary metabolites, has been identified to be a potential alternate therapy for diabetes mellitus due to its various health benefit properties, such as anti-hyperglycemic and antioxidant activities. So the figure shows the subclasses under flavonoids. So there's growing research on identifying potential flavonoids for the effective treatment of diabetes or the associated complications. So with this, Syzygium is a genus that is emerging currently as an alternate therapy for diabetes. The plants under this genus are basically the flowering tropical plants, and there are almost 1,200 species have been identified globally. So the highest level of diversity comes from falls under from Malaysia to northeastern Australia. So the plants under this genus have many proven pharmacological effects, as stated here. So following are some examples of plants under the genus Syzygium, which are jambol, the famous black plum, clove, water apple, white apple, Java apple, sea apple, and there are many more. And those which have I'm actually showing on the screen currently are established for their anti-diabetic property. So the relationship between flavonoids and Syzygium is, interestingly, the genus is rich with flavonoids, as stated here, such as quercetin, myricetin, camphorol, quercetin, and many more. And particularly myricetin, which has been actually identified as a chemosystemic indicator of this genus. So the anti-diabetic effect of Syzygium species is quite well established for a number of plants, particularly if you notice the Syzygium kimini. Just hold on. Yeah. The plant, in fact, has been marketed as an anti-diabetic drug because due to its ability to induce insulin, recover beta cells, reduce blood glucose level, and many more. So similarly, in this line, there are many other plants such as the Syzygium sammarinensis, Syzygium equum, Syzygium aromaticum has shown a good anti-diabetic or anti-hyperglycemic property, which have been proven either using in vivo or in vitro model. So as in Malaysia, so far, the plants such as Syzygium equum and Syzygium polyanthum have been investigated for their anti-diabetic effect, and there are many publications based on the in vitro and in vivo model. The plants are able to actually inhibit the enzyme glycation and product, stimulates glucose uptake, reduce blood glucose level in diabetic rats, and many more. So I'm moving on to the plant which is the focus in this talk today, which is Syzygium malacense. It's a plant which is commonly found in Malaysia and India. It's locally known as Malay apple. The plant is known to be a good hypoglycemic agent based on its traditional use for the treatment of diabetes, especially in Brazil. Besides, there have been some preliminary studies on this plant, particularly on the fruit extract, to show that the extract is able to prevent the development of hyperglycemia-induced cataractogenesis, and the extract has also been shown to improve the fasting blood sugar level in diabetic rats. So based on our literature search, we noticed that the leaf extract of this plant is less explored. In fact, it was not explored at the time when the study was pursued, compared to the other plants which have been investigated under this genus. Besides, we believe that the plant will be able to show a potential anti-hyperglycemic property, in fact, significantly based on the preliminary research and its traditional uses. With that, we have actually came up with the projects to study the protective effect of myricetin derivatives isolated from Syzygium malacense against hyperglycemic induced stress conditions in retinal cells. So in this case, we have used the ARPE19 model, and to elucidate the possible mechanism of action exerted by the active constituents. So we have the methodology starts with the ethanolic extraction of the leaves of the plant, and followed by bioassay guided fractionation and identification of bioactive compounds. So the bioactive compounds and the extracts and few other samples have been subjected to non-enzymatic protein glycation assay to evaluate the anti-glycative property of this plants or the active components, and this is followed by the protective assessment using in vitro model. So the ethanolic leaf extract have been subjected to bioassay guided fractionation on preparatory HPLC system, in which two major fractions have been identified, in which the second fraction, the fraction number 2, showed highest antioxidant and anti-glycemic properties. So this was at the screening stage. So with that, we have actually subjected this fraction 2 to LCMS coupled to QTOF mass spectrometry analysis, in which the fraction has been shown to contain primarily the myricetin derivatives, which are myricetin 3-glucoside, 3-alpha, myricetin 3-alpha L-arabinopyranoside, and myricetin, especially at the very highest percentage of volume. So the mass and retention time matched with the standard compound, which confirmed the presence of myricetin in this fraction. We validated this results by subjecting the fraction into for the analysis of LCMS coupled to triple quad LC mass spectrometer analysis, in which the myricetin in the fraction, the retention time and the significant fragment peaks matched with the standard compound. With that, the results confirm that the fraction is rich with myostatin derivatives, the flavonoid glycosides, in which we have abbreviated that as MD from this point onwards. The basic screening, which assessed the antioxidant property and antiglycemic property, showed that the myostatin derivatives showed a potent nitric oxide scavenging property compared to standards used in this study, and it showed improved free radical scavenging property and total antioxidant value, which is the FRAC value. Besides, the active components also inhibited the alpha amylase and alpha glucosidase, which are the enzymes responsible in the carbohydrate digestion and causes the increase in blood glucose level. So the findings from the identification of the compounds and the basic antioxidant and antiglycemic properties have been published in the LWT Food Science and Technology. Moving on, I will just give a brief introduction on what is advanced glycation end products. These are the cross-linked insoluble fluorescent compounds that forms through the glycation process between protein and sugar. So the formation of H is actually a consequence of oxidative stress that is developed in a hyperglycemic condition, which causes significant change and affects the useful properties of the biological molecules such as DNA, lipids, and proteins. And as a result, this causes the development of various chronic diseases, including retinopathy. So why we are interested on this? Basically because the inhibitor of H production has been identified as a therapeutic target for diabetes and related complications. So we have performed the assay by inducing the formation of H using two different models, which are the BSA glucose model and BSA MGO model. So MGO stands for methyl glyoxal, which is a potent protein glycating agent. Basically, we have incubated the sample with control solution and measured the fluorescence intensity to evaluate the percentage of H inhibition by the samples. So following are the results. So the samples that have been subjected to the assays and the following experiments are the myostatin derivatives, the crude extract of Syzygium malassensii, the leaf extract, the myricitrine, which is the standard compound, basically because it has been identified as one of the major components in the myostatin derivatives. Besides that, we have included two A-glycon flavonoid compounds, which are myostatin and quercetin as a comparison as well, because these two compounds are very famous for their antioxidant and antiglycative property. So based on the results, it's evident that the myostatin and quercetin showed very effective antiglycative property. It inhibited the H formation. So as for the myostatin derivatives, especially at the highest concentration, it showed a moderate H inhibition property, which kind of comparable to what we have observed with the standard compound myricitrine, although myricitrine was more potent in the BSA glucose system. As for the extract, it appeared to be more potent in the BSA glucose system, whereas the derivatives were more potent in the BSA MGO system. So this shows that the different mechanism of action that the derivatives or the samples exerts in the different models in inhibiting the H formation. Continuing, the protective effect assessment against high glucose-induced oxidative stress in the retinal cells were conducted by incubating the cells with the high glucose, which is 30 millimolar, with samples for 48 hours. Upon end of the incubation, cell viability was monitored using the NTT assay. Besides that, the same protocol was repeated, but in this case, after incubation, before the incubation of 48 hours of incubation ends, with the samples and high glucose, a fluorescence probe, DCFHDA, was added, and the fluorescence intensity was measured, and finally, the fold change of intracellular ROS was measured. So the findings are summarized here in this diagram. So let's have a look at what is the effect of high glucose first. So high glucose actually have induced an increase in reactive oxygen species and H production in the cells, which caused a decrease in the cell viability. Besides, it has also activated the formation of H receptor, which indicates that there will be a formation of H the advanced glycation end product with the receptor to form a complex. Basically, the formation of complex also contributes to the increase in reactive oxygen species. This is supported by the findings by the downregulation of genes such as the serpin F1. This gene is responsible to protect the cells from the effect of ROS formed due to the formation of the H receptor complex. Besides that, the CTSD, cathepsin D, is another protective effect that also downregulated, which supposed to behave as the anti-apoptotic factor. Besides, the glyoxylase 1 enzyme was also downregulated, which is an enzyme which responsible to convert the H, the dicarbonyl of H products, into a less reactive form. Besides that, the gene responsible for the activation of NRF2 pathway was also downregulated. The pathway is responsible to protect retinal cells from oxidative stress by activating the expression of antioxidant proteins. So this is evident based on the downregulation of antioxidant enzymes that have been also observed, such as the superoxide dismutase, glutathione peroxidase, and catalase in the system. When we have actually subjected the cells along with myostatin derivatives, all the genes that have been initially downregulated in the presence of high glucose have been upregulated in the presence of myostatin derivatives. So for example, the NRF2 pathway has been activated, in which it indicated that there will be an activation of expression of antioxidant proteins, which is evident from the upregulation of various antioxidant enzymes such as the glutathione peroxidase and catalase. Besides that, the protective factors such as serpin F1, CTSD, glyoxylase, along with PPR gamma were also upregulated in the presence of myostatin derivatives. Besides, the gene responsible for the formation of H receptor were also downregulated. So overall, the reactive oxygen species and H production in the cells were reduced in the presence of myostatin derivatives along with high glucose. So this work has been published recently in Journal of Functional Food. Following that, we have also attempted to see the protective effect of the samples against acute oxidative stress. So the acute oxidative stress were induced by incubating the cells with the glucose oxidase, which is an enzyme responsible to catalyze the production of hydrogen peroxide. So we have pre-incubated the cells with the samples and then followed by incubation with glucose oxidase to induce the production of hydrogen peroxide. And it was incubated for 2 hours. Upon end of the incubation period, viability was measured using NTTSA, and the amount of hydrogen peroxide present in the extracellular level was measured using toluidine assay. And we have also measured the intracellular ROS using the DCF-HDA assay. So the findings have been summarized in this figure. And we have also included the myostatin, which is actually, I forget to mention that myostatin is also is predicted to be one of the major or potential metabolic product of the myostatin derivatives upon metabolic digestion. So we were interested to actually include myostatin in our investigation. So the findings shows that myostatin and the myostatin derivatives have actually improved the cell viability, which was reduced due to the presence of oxidative stress. And both the compounds also reduced the extracellular hydrogen peroxide and intracellular ROS. So it is apparent that both the compounds have actually shown both endogenous and exogenous protection. So the exogenous protection is speculated to be achieved by the direct inhibition of the compounds towards the glucose oxidase enzyme itself, in which we believe that the compounds have inhibited the enzyme from producing more hydrogen peroxide. Or it could be that the compounds, due to their antioxidant property, could have directly scavenged the hydrogen peroxide as well. In the case that the hydrogen peroxide have escaped into the cells, the hydrogen peroxide will be actually degraded to become hydroxyl radical and causes cytotoxic effect to kill the cells. However, in our findings, we noticed that in the presence of myostatin or myostatin derivatives, the cell viability have been improved with the decrease in the total reactive oxygen species level, which proves that the samples have either inhibited the entry of hydrogen peroxide into the cell, or even after the entry, it has inhibited the hydrogen peroxide to degrade to hydroxyl radicals. As for myostatin derivatives, it has shown an activation of the NRF2 pathway and the activation of antioxidant enzymes such as superoxide dismutase. The protective factor cathepsin D, the anti-apoptotic factor, was also upregulated. The inflammatory factors such as the interferon gamma and nitric oxide producer was downregulated. As for myostatin, although the compound did not show activation of NRF2 pathway, interestingly, the compound showed downregulation of various inflammatory and stress factors in the cells, which leads to the decrease in the reactive oxygen species. Overall, the compound shows total protective effects against acute oxidative stress. This work has been published in Molecular Vision. So it is speculated, as mentioned earlier, that the derivatives could be degraded predominantly to myostatin upon digestion by the enzymes at metabolic level or in the eye lens. So myostatin was reported to be bioavailable by 1.5%. So in this study, we have shown that myostatin has inhibited age formation effectively. It offered moderate to significant protection against high glucose and glucose oxidase-induced stress conditions, even at a very low concentrations. So with that, we believe that the myostatin derivatives will be still potentially beneficial even after digestion into its aglycon form in the lens. So it may have the potential to develop into a topical product. So as a conclusion, the myostatin derivatives have shown significant antioxidant and anti-glycative properties. It protected retinal cells from oxidative stress by activating the NRF2 pathway besides various antioxidant enzymes, and downregulated various inflammatory and apoptotic factors. With this, we foresee that the myostatin derivatives or its potential metabolic product, which is myostatin, can be potentially developed into a potential product for the application against diabetic retinopathy. Besides that, I would like to just share some other findings that we have actually established using myostatin derivatives. For example, in this case, we have investigated the insulin-like property of the myostatin derivatives using the 3T3L1 pre-adipocyte cells. We have evaluated for the glucose uptake, secretion of adiponectin, ability of the samples to increase lipid accumulation in the cells, or known as adipogenesis in the system. And this has been validated using gene expression study. So the findings showed that the myostatin derivatives enhanced glucose uptake through the activation of insulin signaling pathway, in which it has actually activated the glucose transporter 4, the increase in the level of glucose transporter 4, in which the transporter will activate the transport of glucose into the cells, and the glucose will be stored in the form of lipid in the adipocytes, which is also known as the adipogenesis process. Besides that, the factors responsible to or facilitated the adipogenesis process, which are the LMO4 and PPAR gamma, were also upregulated. Besides that, the glucose uptake was also upregulated or activated due to the activation of adiponectin AMPK cascade in the system, which also enhanced the production of glucose transporter 4. Besides that, various stress factors such as the serum amyloid 2 and the enzymes, the antioxidant enzymes, which were actually noticed to be upregulated with the presence of higher lipid, was downregulated in the presence of myostatin derivatives. So this work has also been published earlier. Recently, we have pursued projects on in vivo study in which the myostatin derivatives were evaluated on the effects to prevent high-fat diet-induced obesity, glucose intolerance, and oxidative stress in mice. So the derivatives at 50 milligram per kg showed a most effective effect in which it reduced weight gain, glucose intolerance, insulin resistance, lipid accumulation in liver and kidney, and it has also improved the serum lipid profile and ameliorated oxidative stress, in which the study concluded that the derivatives are beneficial in the prevention and management of obesity, hyperglycemia, and oxidative stress. We have also performed the in vivo safety assessment The work has been completed and the paper has been accepted recently, in which no observed adverse effect level of myostatin derivatives was determined up to 1,500 milligram per kg, and it was reported that it's safe for oral consumption. The recent study which has been completed and the paper is under review currently was on the study on the effect of myostatin derivatives on microbiota. So the imbalance of gut microbiota basically could lead to the dysbiosis and causes inflammation and contributes to the development of various diseases. So polyphenols such as flavonoids, in this case myostatin derivatives, could potentially show beneficial effect by modulating gut microbiota. So how does gut microbiota affects the system? In healthy humans, the bacteroidetes and firmicutes ratio will be higher, but this ratio will be lower in obese individual. The akkermansia population was also reported to be lower in obese and diabetic individual. So in the presence of polyphenols or any drugs which potentially could improve the ratio of bacteroidetes to firmicutes, as well as the phylum Akkermansia, has been reported to be able to enhance the production of short-chain fatty acids. These short-chain fatty acids have been reported to be able to reduce inflammation and activate cellular program that favors release of energy and energy expenditure, which will be beneficial in the regulation of metabolism, especially in obese individuals. So in our study, we actually found that the Akkermansia genus was, the abundance of Akkermansia genus was activated, or in fact higher, in the presence of myostatin derivatives, which showed an improvement in the metabolic status. Besides that, the derivatives showed the reduction in weight gain through the increase in thermogenesis process, which was identified based on the upregulation of UCP1 thermoregulatory protein. Besides that, the derivatives showed the reduction in insulin resistance, dyslipidemia, the amelioration of oxidative stress, which again supported the earlier finding that showed that the derivatives will be beneficial in the prevention and management of obesity and associated metabolic disorders. So to summarize, the derivatives has shown the potential to be developed as an adjuvant, the functional food for the treatment of hyperglycemia, insulin resistance, and oxidative-induced stress complications. And we hope that we could bring this research on myostatin derivatives from Sijitha Mala Sensei to a higher level. So these are some of the references used in this talk. And I would like to acknowledge the experts involved in this study from the start till today, Professor Dr. Uma, Professor Dr. Chua, and Associate Professor Dr. Uma, for their continuous support and guidance, research grants that have funded the different studies under this project, and lab mates and staffs who have assisted directly or indirectly in the completion of the project. I'd like to share the research focus in my lab, which is Biochemistry Laboratory in the Department of Biomedical Science. We focus on free radical biochemistry, studies on natural products, diabetes and obesity, and protein stability. Following are some of my collaborators in University Malaya, as well as in Monash University Malaysia and Chiang Mai University Thailand. And I would like to welcome more collaborations to this talk. With that, I would like to thank with the saying, let food be thy medicine, let medicine be thy food. With that, thank you very much for your attention, and stay safe, and let's fight this pandemic together. Thank you.